talk about, if you have a shift, in the common mode input, how will the output shift, right? That will be your understanding of gain, right?
Yes, sir.
That is if both, V in P and V in M, both of them shift by a delta V, then how will your V out shift? That will be the thing. This, what you're talking about, is basically the biasing point, and it is very difficult to compute the output bias point by hand, right? Because you are looking at an high impedance node, and you cannot calculate on paper with the data that is provided. You cannot calculate the output DC point at
Yes,
all,
sir. So it took
right?
the maximum DC point output.
Yeah. So then, how will you calculate gain, right? So there, the output DC point you cannot calculate by hand. Of course, a simulator will be able to do that, but
Sir,
because
can't
you
you
have to,
VDD minus that VGS? Because normally, without
yeah,
any,
VDS is very different. I mean, VDS can vary, no? So
sir,
for a
without any
given
small
current,
signal, shouldn't it be like VDS? It should stay at almost VDS and the voltage.
correct. At what VDS? So then you have to write the full equation, including 1 plus lambda VDS for the PMOS and the NMOS and the current source at the bottom,
No,
and
sir,
then try to.
from the left hand side PMOS, like which is a diode connected PMOS, there from there we're
Right.
current mirroring. So without any small signal, the circuit will tend to have that same VDS as the left hand PMOS. So that's why like the V out max will be at that, like without any small signal, the V out will tend to stay near that left
Somewhere
same.
near that, yeah, but then that is not gain, no? When you talk about gain, what do we mean by gain, right? So that's the thing. So anyway, I think it's only about 2 marks, so don't worry about it. You have your end semester, you have your project. I'm pretty sure that those of you who are aiming to get some really good grades, you'll be able to make it. Okay, so that's the thing. All right, so let's get started with our class. So I hope more number of students have joined by now. All right. Okay, so in the previous class, we talked about a two-stage OTA. So if you recall, we said that if we want to get high gain, we need to move to some called as, of course, we looked at telescopic cascodes and folded cascodes and so on. But then beyond a point, I mean, you don't, you can increase the gain up to a certain point. But then if you want to have really very high gain, usually what you tend to use is a two-stage gain. So the first stage will give you fairly high gain, and of course the total gain is the product of the two gains, the gains of both the stages. Now there is another way to boost the gain of these OTAs. So those are what are called as the gain boosted op amps or regulated cascodes. All right. So before we start off with the regulated cascodes, I also want to discuss this. So we looked at these telescopic cascodes, right? So in principle, although we just stacked up two transistors on the NMOS side and two transistors on the PMOS side, like there are places where you can stack up even three transistors. All right. Okay, so this is also a telescopic cascode. Sorry, this is your input pair, right? So this is, let's say, a V in P, V in M, and then you have the outputs. Now, what do you think would be a disadvantage of a system like this, of a circuit like this? Basically, what I have done is I have done a double cascoding, right? Like, or this is what is called as triple cascoding. Rather, you have three transistors stacked up on the NMOS side. You have three transistors stacked up on the PMOS side. Now, what do you think would be the main problem with a circuit like this?
Voltage swing, sir.
A limited swing.
Correct. The voltage swing is very limited, right? Now, voltage swing and headroom are limited, right? And of course, it will also limit your input common mode range and all those things, right? So this becomes a very big pain. So unless you have very large supply voltages, right? So let's say a very older technology node where you use 5-volt supply or things like that. There probably you have little more voltage headroom where you can allow your transistors to swing. I mean, the voltages to swing around. But then when you come to some deep submicron processes, let's say even a 180 nanometer technology node or 130, 65, and so on, when you bring the supply voltage to 1.8, 1.2, 1 volt, and things like that, you really don't have any headroom for the transistors here. Okay, so this you cannot use at these advanced technology nodes. So there is another technique which is used, which is called as gain boosting. Now, what is gain boosting? So before we go into the full circuit, let us first look at the initial concept, right? So let's say if you have one transistor, now we know what is the transconductance of this transistor, right? So if you find out the I out for a given V in, okay? So let us say small signal I out and small signal V in. I out can be given as, let's say, GM times V in, right? And the overall GM is nothing but the GM of this transistor. Now, suppose I put an op amp in front of it, okay, or an amplifier in front of it, and then I say, okay, I am, putting this here, and then I'm giving V in here. Now, what will be the I out here? The I out here is going to be, so the voltage here is going to be V in times gain of this op amp, which is A. So the voltage at this point is going to be A times V in, and therefore the I out is going to be GM times A times V in, and the effective transconductance of this whole circuit can be taken as A times GM, right? Now you can kind of say that this whole thing becomes, let's say, instead of grounding it, let's say if we take this as the system, right? It's basically the same as before. Only thing is that you have now taken this whole thing together as a gain boosted transistor, right? So basically you can talk about I out and V in, and basically this node need not be at ground, it can be anywhere, and this becomes your gain boosted transistor. All right. So let us take a specific case here. Let's take this source degenerated circuit. Right. So let us find out what is the effective GM of this particular transistor. So without this op amp coming into the picture, so let's say without A, right? Let's say this is the op amp A with the gain A. What is the transconductance? So the transconductance, I mean, we have already seen it is basically given by GM by 1 plus GM RS. right? So this will basically be your transconductance, which you would get in the absence of this regulated, this regulated transistor, or this kind of a super transistor, or this gain boosted transistor, right? This is the transconductance that you do. We were already seeing this in our when we talked about the source degenerated system, right? Now, what is the transconductance with the amplifier in the picture? Okay, so let us say this particular node, um, let us say this node is X, right? So basically, we are interested in I out. So what is the input volt? What is this voltage at the gate of the transistor? The voltage at the gate of the transistor can be written as V in minus I out times Rs. This multiplied by A, that is the gate voltage. Now, what is the source voltage? The source voltage is I out times Rs. Now, this is your gate to source voltage. This multiplied by Gm is your I out, right? This multiplied by Gm is your I out. Now, if you collect the I out terms, what do you basically get? You will basically have 1 plus Gm Rs into A plus Rs times Gm is equal to V in times Gm into A, right? Now, just a minute. So this is how you would get. So if you were to calculate I out divided by V in, which is the effective transconductance. Just give me a moment. Hello. Sir, I'm actually in the middle of a class. I'll just call you back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. So if you calculate the effective transconductance, which is I out by Gm, you'll basically get something like A times Gm divided by 1 plus A plus 1 plus A times Gm Rs. If you bring this other thing together, you basically get Gm Rs into 1 plus A plus 1, right? This is what you would basically get. So now if you compare this with the other thing, which is Gm divided by 1 plus Gm Rs, right? You can see that now the transconductance is now increased by a factor of A, right? So for A, which is much greater than 1, you can kind of say that the transconductance is given by 1 by Rs, right? Like if you take A to be much greater. But whereas in this other case, if you divide the numerator and denominator, you get 1 by 1 plus Gm plus Rs, right? So now this is our transconductance. Now, if you look at your output impedance, okay, what is your output impedance? So how do you find out the output impedance? Let's take the transistor. We have a Rs here, and then let's say this is our op amp. Minus terminal is connected here, and this is connected to ground because you set the input to 0, and then you have your Vx, and you want to find out your Ix, which is drawn, right? And then let's say this is your Vx by Ix will give you your R out, right? So what is your Ix here? So that's what we need to find out. So basically, you can do the same kind of thing. You say that this node voltage is 0, and therefore the gate voltage is nothing. Gate voltage at this particular point is nothing but 0 minus this is Ix times Rs. This multiplied by A is the gate voltage there. So the gate voltage minus Ix times Rs, right, is basically going to be the gate, the gate to source voltage. So that multiplied by Gm is one contribution. Of course, you also have R0 here. So this R0 is going to be Vx minus Ix times Rs. divided by R naught. So this is the total current. This whole equation is equal to Ix. Right. So you can rearrange the terms. So probably will not spend too much time on working out the algebra of this, but then you find out that R out, which is nothing but Vx divided by Ix, turns out to be R naught plus Rs plus A plus 1 times Gm times R naught times Rs. Now, without A, what would be the output impedance? This we have already seen, right? So it becomes R naught plus Rs plus Gm times R naught times Rs. This is what you would get. Now, if you compare the two, it looks as if the transconductance has increased by a factor of 1 plus A. The transconductors of this, let's call it M1, right? This transistor has increased by a factor of A plus 1. So the intrinsic, what you can say with this kind of a gain boosted architecture is that the intrinsic transconductance of this transistor, where this, this gain boosted transistor is this part, right? This has increased, or rather I should probably put this as the gain boosted transistor. The transconductance of this gain boosted transistor has increased by a factor of A plus 1. So this whole thing acts like a transistor with a transconductor of Gm times A plus 1. So that is why you see that even in the effective transconductor, it becomes A by A Gm divided by 1 plus A times Gm. Okay, there is a small factor here. I mean, where you have A plus 1 is not there in the numerator, but that approximation is fairly valid, whereas A takes up a little larger value. Okay. So, and even in the R out expression, you see that this, instead of just having the transconductance here, you have the Gm multiplied by A plus 1. All right. So this is what is called as a gain boosted transistor, or this technique is called as gain boosting, or in other words, this is also called as a regulated cascode. Okay. Now, why is it called as a regulated cascode? So there is another way of looking at this whole thing. All right. So you have a transistor. Right. Let's say this is your Rs. This is your. Now, suppose you do not have this op amp, right? And let's say there is a delta V at the output. Okay, there is a certain delta V at the output. Now, how much does this node? Let's call this node as P. By how much will this node go up? Okay. So this node going up can be written as delta V multiplied by, in a kind of a loose way, you can say that it is an impedance division, right? It is Rs divided by the total impedance seen from this particular point. What is the total impedance seen? It is R naught plus Rs plus Gm R naught Rs, right? So this will be the amount of, let's say, delta X or delta P that you would see is given by this particular factor. So which is why we use cascoding, right? Like because of the high output impedance, like any disturbance at the output, even when you talk about cascoded current sources or cascoded transistors for op amps and things like that, the disturbance at the output, any kind of variation at the output translates to a very small drain to source voltage transition or disturbance for your transistor, which is sitting at the bottom of the stack, right? So in this particular case, so this is another way to edit. So suppose you put an op amp in front, like how we have done. Let's say this is given to some VB. Let's say this node is again called as P. And let us say there is a shift of delta V here. Now, what will happen? What is the job of this op amp? Basically, this is a negative feedback. So what do you think the op amp will try to do? Come on, guys. You've studied about op amps and virtual short and things like that, right? So what will this op amp in negative feedback loop try to do? With relation to, let's say, VB and VP. Yeah, please answer.
The VP node will be fixed with the voltage VB.
Correct, right? So this is first of all a negative feedback circuit. So if VP tries to increase, right? If VP tries to raise, this means that this input differential voltage goes down. So therefore this node voltage will go down, right? So in other words, what it will try to do is to maintain this VP to be equal to VB, right? So as A tends to infinity, VB will be equal to VP, right? So in other words, this kind of a gain boosted transistor is basically going to be it's going to act, basically it is going to regulate the voltage at this node P, right? So which is why it is called as the regulated cascode. All right. It's called as a regulated cascode. In other words, VP tracks this input voltage VB. All right. So another name for this gain booster transistors is regulated cascode. All right. So this is another way to kind of understand this. So if your A tends to infinity, this node P will not shift at all. It will still remain to be the same, right? Which means that your output impedance basically goes towards infinity, which is kind of the same result that we got through all our small signal analysis and understanding. Okay. All right. So now we talked about how to, having a nice super transistor or a gain booster transistor. Now, how to implement this op amp? Okay. Now we are talking about OTAs. So it is like having an OTA inside an OTA, right? So you're designing an op amp, and inside your op amp you have another op amp, right? So basically, how are we going to do that? So instead of, even before we go for a full OTA, let us try to take a cascode amplifier, right, and try to implement this particular thing. So what is your cascode amplifier? Let's say this is your current source load. This is V out. This is V in. Right? This is supposed to be VB. Now instead of VB, what am I going to do? I'm going to give a regulated cascode, which is basically I'm going to put this op amp like this. I'm going to give VB. Now, how am I going to implement this op amp? So let us say, let me first put the original circuit. Let's call this as M1. Let's call this as M2. You have some current source. Let's call this as I1. Right? Now, this is basically an amplifier, right? Basically, you want an amplifier here. So if you were to, basically, if you want to do this, let's just, if you put a common source amplifier here, okay? Let's call this as M3, right? This is connected to here. This is connected basically here. Now what happens? So basically, because you don't have the comparison with VD and all that, we will come to it later. But you have some kind of an amplifier here where you take this and you amplify it with a negative gain. So in other words, if this goes up, this will basically come down, and it's kind of going to regulate it and keep it at the point where it is supposed to be. So if there is any disturbance here, this disturbance here will cause an opposite reaction here, and it will try to maintain this node at whatever value it is, what was previously there, right? So this is a very simple regulated cascode. Okay. Sometimes you will see this kind of a structure where you have two transistors kind of connected, in this way. where the source is connected to the gate and the drain is connected to the gate, right? Like this kind of a thing. Basically, this is a regulated gas port. All right. Now, there is one small problem here. The problem being that if you look at this node voltage P, what is VP min? What should be the minimum voltage of this VP?
Sir, we take VDS 0, VD set.
VD sat, where is M0?
So the lowest one, where we are
This
giving
is M1, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is M1. Okay.
Correct.
But then if you put VD sat here, do you think M3 will be active? So let's say VD sat is around some 150 millivolt. Do you think M3 will be on if you set your VP min to be this? Let's say VTH is around 380 millivolt or something.
No, sir.
Right. So here VP min has to be the greater of the two voltages. For M1 to be in saturation, you have VD sat. For M3, it is the gate to source voltage, and therefore it has to be VGS of 3. Okay. So which is a much higher thing than, so let us say if you have VGS, if you have an overdrive voltage of let's say 150 millivolt, and have a VTH of 380 millivolt, you will basically have what, 430, so 430, 530, VGS3 is equal to 530 millivolt, right? So this is much higher than your previous minimum voltage, which is 150 millivolt, right? So basically your swing kind of gets limited if you use an NMOS input transistor for your auxiliary op amp or auxiliary amplifier, right? So now we can come and say, okay, putting an NMOS is not a very good idea. Let us try to put a PMOS. Okay, so this is implementation with NMOS auxiliary amp. Let's say if we use a PMOS auxiliary amp, what will happen? So let's say this is our original transistor. So let's say this is Vn, this is M1, this is M2, right? And here let us say instead of PMOS thing, instead of an NMOS input pair, we are putting a PMOS input pair. Okay, and let me just draw it a little lower. I am having a current source load, let's call it I2. And this output is connected to M2. So let's say this is M3, right? So basically this is the same common source amplifier, but implemented as a PMOS input pair, as a common source with a PMOS input pair. Now what happens? This node voltage P can go down to VD sat of M1 because that is really not a problem, because your M3 is definitely going to be on, right? But there is one more problem here, right? The problem here is that let us say this is let us say we are putting VP to be at the overdrive VD sat of M1. Let's say this is 150 millivolt. Okay, for example. Now let's say this is a 1.8 volt supply. So what is the VSG here? The source to gate voltage. Come on, guys. Source is at 1.8. The node P is at 0.15. So the VSG is going to be 1.65 volt, right? So you have a very large VSG for your transistor M3. And what should be your gate voltage here? The required gate voltage, let's call it as VG, right? This VG can be just what? The VGS2 plus the VDSAT of 1, right? So let's say this is some 500 plus 150, let's say, 650 or let's say 700 millivolt. So if you put this to be at 700 millivolt, now what happens to the drain to source voltage of, or the source to drain voltage of your PMOS? The source to drain voltage is only around 1.1, or even if you take this up slightly higher, I mean, if you take this to be 700 or 800 millivolt, right? You have around 1 volt to 1.1 volt, right? If you take this 1.1 volt, right? So which means that, sorry, yeah, this is 0.7, and there you have 1.8 minus 0.1, this is 1.1. But whereas how much voltage do you need for your this thing? The VSD SAT of M3 is going to be 1.65 minus, let's say, 0.38, which turns out to be 1.35, 1.27, right? So which means that this M3 goes into triode, right? In order to have a good swing at the output, you will put this voltage at the gate of M2 to be such that it is only at, just the gate to source plus some VDSAT plus VDSAT margin or something like that, and then you put it there. So because your gate to source voltage for your PMOS is very, very large, and the voltage required at the output is kind of at the lower range, M3 goes into triode region. So this is again not a good thing. All right. So in the first thing, if you implement this with the NMOS transistor, you have the voltage swing being limited. In the second case, when you have, the PMOS transistor, your M3 can go into triode region. And therefore, the solution to this problem is basically to use a folded cascode. Okay. So if you have this as your main amplifier, right? V in and V out, and then you have, PMOS input pair is good as far as this is concerned. So let's say this is M3, and then what happens in a folded cascode? You take this drain and give it to the source of the opposite transistor, which is basically the NMOS transistor. And of course, you have, let's say this is I2 to bias this, and then you have another I3 to bias this, and then this goes as the input to your this one. Okay, let's say this can be some bias voltage, and this is M4. All right. So here, what do we see here? You get a folded cascode. So here, your input common mode range is fine, and your M3 also doesn't. This node really does not need to be very, high and all that. So it can be low, so that the VD sat of or the VSD sat of M3 can be large enough to maintain this in saturation. And this second transistor, the M4 transistor, kind of level shifts the whole thing so that the DC levels are now different, right? So you get the output from this particular thing. This works quite well. All right. So a folded cascode amplifier can work well to serve as your, auxiliary amplifier. All right. So now how do we? So far we looked at it in the case of a single-ended op amp where you have, single-ended input, single-ended output. It's not an op amp. So now how do we use a regulated telescopic cascode? Right. So first let's draw the original cascode, telescopic cascode. All right, let's say this is your V in P, V in M, right? So now what is going to happen is that now this is a differential system, so you can give a differential amplifier. So you take these 2 points and you have a differential amplifier feeding the, let's call it as A, feeding the gate of these 2 transistors. And then the same way you use a regulated cascode here, right? You take a differential amplifier here, let's call it A2, and this is going to basically feed the gate of these 2. And this is your V out P and V out M. So this is a regulated telescopic cascode OTA. Now the same thing you can do for a a folded cascode OTA also. You can have a regulated folded cascode OTA. Now this A1 and A2, it can be using these 2 things. So now that we are talking about differential cascodes, I mean differential system, basically you can have a differential op-amp being used here, right? So you can basically, I mean, if you take only, let me just draw only the bottom section so that it's not too cluttered. Okay. Right. So you can, so if you are using the same NMOS kind of a thing, you have this going to the 2 NMOSes, and then you connect, let me use a different color. Let's call it ITail 2, right? Because now this becomes a differential pair. And then you have, of course, the 2 loads. And this is going to connect to you. This one. So this transistor, maybe let me just draw it with a different color so that it is visible. Okay, so let's call, if this is M1, M2, M3, M4, let's call this as M5 and M6. So M5, M6 forms a differential pair with the tail current source ITail 2, and then you have this kind of a configuration which is going to work. Now the same thing you can do using a folded cascode. Okay, you have a folded cascode input pair, right, and which is a differential system, and you can basically implement like that. All right. So this is how you can do regulated cascode. So we have already seen the gain. So if you take a regulated cascode and if you want to calculate the gain, so the gain is basically nothing but GM multiplied by R out, right? Now what is the GM here? Of course, in this case, the GM is the normal GM because the GM of 1, 2, right? And then what is the gain here? The output impedance. Output impedance is going to be, let's say, R01 plus, this R02, right? Multiplied by, so we looked at this input impedance, right? Output impedance that we derived here, right? So it becomes R0 plus RS plus GM, A plus 1 times GM times R0 into RS. So basically the same thing you would get here. So R01 plus R02 plus GM2 times 1 plus A multiplied by R01, R02 in parallel with the same kind of thing in the top section. So this is how your gain increases. So you can see that the output impedance goes by a factor of, increases approximately by a factor of A, which is A is the gain of your auxiliary amplifier, right? Now you can also calculate the frequency response of this, right? Now frequency response, if you see, now first of all, you have a really high output impedance. and therefore the first pole is located at, let's say, 1 by 2 pi R out times CL. Now that is your output impedance. Sorry, that is your first pole. Now obviously you will have additional poles because of the other even at these other nodes you are going to have capacitance, right? So they will also contribute to additional thing. In the book there is a more elaborate derivation of the frequency response. You will see that this has because there are two paths here, you'll have a 0 and you'll have an additional pole also. But if you were to compare this thing, right, you can say that it's going to kind of look something like this. Okay. So the gain here of this is approximately given by given by A times GM1 times R01 GM2 R02, right? Now, if you had a normal cascode, you will probably be here GM1 times GM2 times R01 R02 approximately, right? And then the pole here is of course A times GM2 R02 R01 CL, right? Here of course it will be a little higher bandwidth. So basically if you compare a regulated cascode and a normal cascode, it has a higher gain and lower bandwidth, and whereas a normal cascode has slightly lower, little lower gain and little higher bandwidth. Now you will see that there is one more pole which is coming around here, and there is also another thing that we must keep in mind is that this particular auxiliary amplifier also has a pole. So those things will come and kick in somewhere here. So in summary, if I were to do a comparison of, let us say, the different parameters and the different things, right? So let us say we take a normal 5 transistor OTA, have a telescopic OTA, have a folded cascode OTA, you have a 2-stage OTA, and you also have the gain boosted or the regulated cascode OTA. Now these are all the different things that we have seen, and let us say we are looking at things like gain, the output swing, the speed or bandwidth, right, power dissipation, and let us say noise. All right. So these are all the different things that we are interested in for any given this thing. So if we were to kind of fill up this table, you can say that the gain of a 5 transistor OTA is a low one, but then you have high output swing. Okay, the bandwidth is also high, right? The power dissipation is basically, you can call it as being low because there is only I-tail involved, and the noise is also kind of only one set of transistors and it is low. Now, when you talk about a telescopic gain, now compared to the other things, we can say that this has a kind of a medium to high gain, right? Whereas the output swing is basically low, right? And the bandwidth is also kind of low, right? Because, or we can say it is medium, because compared to other things, it is low. And power dissipation is also low because you only have one I-tail source drawing things. And then noise is also low because all the cascading transistors do not contribute to noise. It's pretty much equal to your 5 transistor OTA. Now, if you talk about a folded cascode OTA, it also has a medium gain, right? But the output swing is quite high, fairly high. Okay. Let's call it as medium. Okay. Bandwidth, again, we can say it is medium. Power dissipation is high, or we can say that if not high, at least we can say it is medium, because what happens is you have two current sources here. I mean, you have some power going through the stack as well as a tail current source. Okay, so it's going to be higher than your telescopic OTA, and the noise is also going to be a little higher than the other thing, right? Now, if you talk about a two-stage OTA, you get basically high gain, right? You can have, the first stage itself can be a telescopic, and the second stage is a common source. So you have pretty high gain in a two-stage OTA. Same way in a gain boosted OTA, you have pretty high gain because of the regulated cascode, right? Output swing wise, this is quite good because you're, you just have a common source here. In fact, the textbook says it has the highest output swing because it's just a common source at the high output, right? So you have very good output swing. The bandwidth is actually low. All right. In fact, we will also talk about, there are two poles in the system. So we will talk about compensation, which we will do in some of the subsequent classes. So bandwidth is low. The power dissipation is also little on the higher side because now you have two stages, right? And that is what you would have. So medium or high. And noise is also low because you have the noise of the second stage divided by the gain square of the first stage. Whereas for a gain boosted stage, the output swing is also medium because you need to make sure, I mean, it's pretty much a cascode, right? And the bandwidth is also low, right? And I mean, if you do not consider compensation and things like that, we can say that it is medium bandwidth because this low we will discuss a little later why this is quite low. Power dissipation is pretty high because now you have your auxiliary amp also needs this thing and your main amplifier also needs current, and then you have medium noise. Okay, so this is a kind of a comparison, a more qualitative comparison of different op-amp topologies. So in different applications, right, you will need different criteria. Sometimes you may need very high gain, sometimes you need very high output swing, sometimes you may need a very high bandwidth, right? All these things do happen. Therefore, based on your requirement, some input common mode range is something that we have not talked about. We know that input common mode range is the highest for folded cascode, right? So things like that are there. And so based on your requirement, you choose one of the topologies. All right. So with this, I'll conclude today's class. Are there any questions or any doubts?
No, sir.
Right. Okay. Okay. So with this, we'll conclude the class. And I wanted to, okay, regarding that 11 mark question being evaluated for 10, I'll just think about it. If possible, I'll try to reduce, but then I really felt that there was no, I mean, there need not have been any confusion. Anyway, let me think about it. I'm not committing to anything now. Can we have a class this afternoon because Wednesdays and Thursdays class both were cancelled. So can we have a class at, let's say, 4 p.m. today?
Sir, we have a report to submit on Monday actually. Sorry, next day, tomorrow of internship. So would it be possible to have classes next week?
Oh, internship report submission. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So Monday, are you guys available? Monday sometime?
Sir,
Morning or afternoon?
Sir, right now we cannot say, sir. Whenever we will be, sir, we will inform in the group, sir.
Okay. Afternoon, do you guys have lab on Mondays?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please arrange for some extra classes because we lost 2 classes on Wednesday and Thursday. So if you arrange it, that will be good so that later, I mean, it will be useful for your project also and for your course project as well. So I've already put up the thing in Moodle. So I still haven't checked how many of you have, filled up the spreadsheet. So in case you still haven't identified your spreadsheet, sorry, let me just open it. Yeah, I don't see anyone having entered it. So please fill it up by this weekend, all right? And I will share the link of,
Like,
Sorry? Sorry, can you come again?
The students have filled it.
we have filled it, sir. Maybe it's there down, sir, on the sheet.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, I just scrolled down. I can see some 2 to 3 groups. Okay, but the rest of you guys need to fill it up. Okay, so please do that, and please fill it up by this weekend. All right. Okay, so thanks everyone. Have a nice day. I'll conclude the class with this.